Hi, this is Pixie doing another video, and it will be on psychic parasites and shadow people. Yeah, basically, I had an experience yesterday, and I was at work. Now, sometimes I get followed around by things at work, and I sometimes see them on monitors or caught with the eye. Usually, best to catch things in reflections. I've seen because what happens is with light, with their type of lower frequency light, is that when it's reflected back on themselves, it creates a more denser form. They probably didn't even realise that they're actually, that's moment in time, their visibility is increased. So you can sort of like, you notice the shadow there. You won't get it through the direct focus of your eyesight, because your eyesight is tuned for this dimensional frequencies of light. What you've got is you've got a different lower spectrum out here, so where you'll sense something there, and you've got a different sensory perception, sensory impression of distance and energy. Actually, I can feel these things on your temple. So what is that? Yeah, it's changed. See, my hand's reflecting the light, I guess. So it's creating a different field change there. See, you notice it goes slightly redder on the camera. Anyway. Yeah, basically, so different wave frequencies, and you'll pick it up at the corner of your eyesight. And what was happening at work is I noticed it looked like someone was looking through the window at me, and I sort of clocked in the corner of my eye, sort of like as you do, if you're looking at a monitor or something, and quite spookily looked like someone looking through the window. So I looked at it, looked towards it, and it just disappeared. It disappeared in the speed that a human wouldn't be able to. Or they would pretend they're not looking when they are. They wouldn't run off like that. And then the same thing happened again. And also the height of the actual window, the person would have to be pretty slender, about 6 foot, or maybe 7 foot tall, which would be quite strange for a shadow type thing. Anyway, what I sensed later on though is I felt this sort of breeze feeling, like something had just passed past me or gone quite close to me. As you can do it basically. You should be able to sense your aura. Is that when you're this close, you can feel the heat coming off your hands, and then you should have a different way. You should have sensed it. Even if your eyes closed, you can actually sense it quite a bit actually. But yeah, basically you feel like something's blown on your neck, and it's quite an unusual sensation. And basically what was happening was that it was trying to access my mind and some memories, and it was basically setting me up to trigger something inside me. I know what the problem is. It's to do with some spite I've got and some sort of malice towards someone that basically did something quite nasty to me. So I sort of have a just cause for that, but now I need to let it go, because I don't want to be like this person who mistreated me basically. And it triggers a state whereby you feel quite angry, and this angry energy is feeding other entities basically. It protects me on one level, but on another level it's something that this particular thing wants to do. It wants to weaken my state of thinking, and use this memory as a way in to influence my behaviour. So basically setting you up so you can have arguments and things like that, and you don't need a negative type portal thing like that, a creature. So yeah, so it's basically just dealing with that emotional baggage or that's built up. That's what it is, which is negative karma. But like all karma, it has a knock-on effect. You can't do something and not be affected by it. So that's sort of one thing I wanted to touch upon. And them type of beings, I notice with things like if it's more ET where I live, that there's dogs in the area, and the dogs just start barking at night for no reason. It's literally, there's just a yard that's beyond a car park, and they don't tend to be worried about anything, but for some reason I noticed they started barking, the lights started flickering, and then I've sensed something watching me or moving around. So it's quite a strange experience. Not unless you've had these experiences where you fully understand that. I mean, also they may try to come in via your dream, like a dreamscape. You know, when you're asleep in your own little universe, is they try to influence that. So they might end up turning up as characters in your dreams. And I had one strange dream, and this is why I was worried about this malice, is that there was a woman in it, and I was supposed to be caring for her in some way, and then she started taking money out of my pocket, and I know she was nicking from me, and I was next to a canal, so what I did is I put her head in the canal and then trod on it, which wasn't very nice, but I'm assuming that something inside me realised that she was taking something from me, and it was a counter-attack, which because basically my experience is that I've always had some paranormal engagement. Now, you know, even for a skeptic, it's just that sensing something, seeing something, always having nightmares at night, and this pattern from a young age of about 3 or 4 going on throughout my life, little things, little blips turning up. And I could just say, oh well, it's not real, it's psychology or something. That's right if you think it linear and you think that we live in one dimension, but when you realise there's actually loads packed on top of each other, you realise that there's going to be knock-on effect. If anything intelligent exists within these other dimensions that isn't bound by the laws of our physicality as we understand it, but we all know it goes much beyond that. It's a bit like this body is that's what you call a soul matrix. It's an energetic form. It's a hard light body, it uses DNA. The elements are controlled by the frequencies within the DNA. Otherwise, the water and other minerals and things would separate in my body. Someone said that people look for miracles, and there's miracles all around them. And then the example was, it's a miracle that they don't dissolve when they take a bath. And considering how much water's in your body, that is quite a profound thing to think about, and also how resilient the human body is. But I've covered this probably before, basically. So I've got this main part body. With regards to a entity outside of that, I'm much probably quite like these shadow beings in that I'm a waveform, and it's a lower density body. So I wouldn't have physical limitations in there, but when you get something like a human body, that's why there's some rules in place and things. Otherwise, I could take this physical body anywhere and I'd be impervious to these beings, and I could do anything. And I think at some point we'll cross over to we'll become godlike in our existence. Our purpose is to become grand architects in the universe. To be honest, it's a lot easier than micromanaging if you're we could say God consciousness. Part of it is like a project, and then we're all this matrix, and it's all this matrix connected to the creator force. There's a lot of other areas I can touch upon as well. I'm aware now that planets are considered like angels or gods, and that within this paradox we live in is a dimension. So you might see the moon as just a chunk of rock there, but if you're on the moon, it may see the Earth, so it's completely different. So it's a bit far out for some people. I need to look at the science to it, but it's how it's making sense of the hollow Earth, the flat Earth, and the cannibalistic Earth. So the perception. It's a bit like you play computer games. You see everything in 3D, but it's a flat screen. And the data doesn't come in shapes. I mean, geometry is mathematics, geometry, frequency, sound, light. That's that part of the consciousness of God, or Yahweh, or Ayor, and there's an attachment. There's many different names for it. I mean, the language of the English language, and with the vowels, each vowel has a energy frequency attached to it. It's a bit like Allah. You don't want to be singing it. You don't want to be saying it, because then you're putting intentions forward. So consciousness, consciousness. At different levels, there's consciousness. The Earth has a certain, there's different realms, and they mention different realms as being like a lower realms where low frequency energy exists, like emotional, and beings that travel there that are in emotional states, people that commit suicide. And that's where they're going. If they're angry or they're very concerned, they all end up there. That's where their fixation, their knowledge, all their being is fixated on these emotional states. Then they're trapped in these emotional states, and that's where they go. And then above that, you go into the animal realm. It's like an instinct. The reasons to survive, and these different forms don't always have like bodies, so there are all sorts of things in there. Sometimes you see sort of gin go between these two different realms. You get something that's like human-like, and you get something that's like animal-like. So they go from that realm and morphed into something like, especially and further up the scale as well. You've got creatures that are half human and sort of half animal type, where they've sort of the cross between these different realms. And then further up you get into the human realm. So that's where we are, sort of like we're between God and animal in that sense. And then further up you've got more demonic realm, and that's the reason that's above man. It's basically if you've got power. Basically, you wouldn't rise above being a man unless you had a self-interest to do that. You could to raise your consciousness level, then that would be different. That would be an external force coming into influencing your internal force. But as an individual growing, you push yourself. You'll be pushing yourself up, so you're self-driven. But when you get into that, sometimes you get. This is where men find they go beyond their consciousness, and basically they try to become demons that they're not. And even though they share some of that consciousness is there, it's awareness of it, and it's power. We all of this, like power. Like if anyone's experienced true anger or rage, they realise that they can completely feel for that moments in time indestructible, but afterwards they drop straight down emotionally, and it's like, wow, I just exploded, and I felt all my power once. They've got no way of maintaining their power in that sense because they will lose it. It's like a fire that burns quickly, all its fuel. They haven't got some equilibriums there, so they're in this realm where basically their self and the power source is kind of united in a sense. Like they knowing the great knowledge and so on, but still having some instinct qualities of a human realm. So it's a kind of getting that delicate balance if you want to go. And then you go into what's known as the angelic realm or more God realm, and then further up between human and demon, and sometimes between demon and angels. You've got different alien beings. You've got different things. I mean, you've also got where elementals fit as well, and are they angelic or are they demonic, or do they come right down to the shadow realm right below us? There's other realms around, but this conscious has a knock-on effect with the earth. It has a knock-on effect on what you eat and everything. If you think about where plants and animals are, and your conscious state, you're eating these things, and where that's putting you in this elemental chart, basically. Things charged with more to do with the sun will have more power in that sense. But there's possibly, within each of these different realms, there's a need to fulfill, I wouldn't say don't eat meat. I'd say probably there's ethical ways to eat meat. That's possibly it. I mean, if something died of old age, that wouldn't be a problem. It's a bit like plants. It's nice to eat the fruit, but if you're chopping down loads of plants, massacring them, and they're not even growing and so on, you're creating a kind of negative karma associated with them. what I mean, this is quite right with Muslims, is there's basically what they mention about with using blessings on meat, basically having a psychic connection to what you're eating, and sort of, thanking it for giving up its energy source to you, and basically it can spiritually move on. Because there's an attachment. If someone killed me quickly, I'd still have some of my spiritual energy within my body. It wasn't like I was slowly dying and I realised there's no way out, and then I sort of said, I surrender. I've heard this about Aborigine faith as well. If your actions and you don't sort out the karma, you're going to get a karma attachment to these animals, and they will be attacking you spiritually at different levels. Things like Tourette's and so on is meant to be some psychic that the animal's done. There's some attachment inside you. I think for some animals have things that people, basically spiritual forms that have come across from other worlds and that have taken root from the source of the earth and worked their way up. When these animals have been consumed by humans, their spiritual energy has been raised. If they've transcended in the right way, otherwise it might be stuck in some. You might create someone who, in essence, has some issues, like they're demonic or something, simply because of this animal state connected to them. But they say with the karma is that you go back through your past lives, and that's quite simple regression. It's just simply meditating. The mistake people have is that the imagination is not real, yet imagination perceives everything. Everything I see has been created within my head. There is no real table in front of me. There is no real, recording device in front of me. These are constructs, but they're not the absolutes. And I think when you start to see that, you can see beyond the realms of reality. And then that's the other thing, is that if your mind can only see this spectrum of reality, you can never go to a higher realm. You'll just be concerned with human affairs and animal affairs. You won't actually go beyond that and try to monopolise them. You've got other issues within the conscious system, is that some creatures have been created with human aspects to them. So eating pork, for instance, Muslims are quite correct on that, with things like prawns and no legs, because humans started in the sea. Basically, that's why you've got characteristics of sea animals in it. That's why if you throw a newborn baby in the water, it will swim. But it can't crawl on land. It can't climb trees. If it was a monkey or it had an ape connections, it would be able to climb up trees. You have salty tears. You have salty sweat. These are not natural things for mammals to have. And like I say, natural abilities to swim. There's other genetic qualities in there. I think what happened in the past is that the human species got wiped out and it got replicated. Some mistake, war, or whatever took place. So some of these species have been brought to this planet as an Eden planet or Eden project. There's so much more I don't know about it. This is like the Akashic records and them sort of studies I've been doing. Oh, was it Akashic? Okay. You have to double check these things. I just absorb all the information at a time. But it gives me a greater understanding of how the world operates and where we fit into this paradigm. I can tell you that this universe is multi-dimensional. It's not just simply one-dimensional space, and it's much more complicated. I mean, most of you listen to this will already have ideas, your own ideas, and I will say that none of them are wrong, because it's a constant level of research and development. And until I can go beyond that, there's some things that if they're outside my dimensions, I can never physically bring them into this. I'd have to create a light body form for it and say that this is a solid object. This exists in this form. It would be so difficult to demonstrate that. I mean, if there's a way, if somebody had a more spiritual connection, if I could demonstrate something like that, because they would pick up on it. like you do these things, ESP type things, and all these sorts of stuff. So there's lots of different developments there, and different areas of knowledge on where we fit into this universe. And like I say, we've got a destiny to fulfill. Anything that goes on with people that believe they're in power, so elite. I mean, not all Illuminati bad. None of them are. It's just that there's a few people that think I don't want to let go of power, or I want to make sure that nobody else gets it, which is a bit ridiculous because at the end of the day, there's a whole universe out there to work on, and we're all going to go that way. I mean, if you hold people back, eventually they will break free. It's just there's no way you can hold them back. You kind of cut your nose off or something to spite your face. It's that sort of I did hear there was like a references that people don't fully understand, and there was a Jewish reference that they thought it means non-Jew and actually means cow. But the fact that if no one else knows what it means, it's going to lose meaning altogether. If someone said it, I'd be like, well, what the hell are you saying that for? It doesn't have any meaning to me. And they have to realise that without meaning, it has no power. And there's triggering things like colour ballistic events with the using numerology and all these sorts of trauma and stuff. It makes me wonder if something's trying to move from more demonic form to a more lower frequency form. I don't think that they're actually doing it themselves. They're trying to feed off from the bottom back up to the top. They're creating some type of artificial connection to it, so it's quite strange. So yeah, the other things we mentioned about is that some human aspects exist within the food chain, so you've got to be quite careful because the consummation or the consumption of your own self or kin is slightly in the realm of demonic, because you're absorbed with their life energy and attachment. It may not give them the power. I think some elite might be actually blinded by their beliefs and their behaviours. I'm already aware of some of these. It's probably not satanic. It's probably demonic worship in some sense, where they do horrible things to children, cage them up, eat them, and all sorts of things, which would go beyond the realm of anything normal, and it will have knock-on effects and karma. And I think it's to prevent themselves from entering this angelic phase. They believe, well, I just want to attain this demonic phase, and then stay within there and try to control everything below it, and try to create a false god, because it would never have that angelic connection. But they have to realise everything's controlled by the prime source. So it's kind of it's playing out like a game. There's no losses for something that powerful. You can't crash this universe. You can't turn it into the anti-whatever or negative. These aspects are just parts of himself. Like as a human being, you have positives and negative aspects. Like I mentioned about the spite part of me, that was just a manifestation, but it's gone now. You just take it, reform it. That at some point could happen with the creator. If it's like, well, we've got a lot of dead wood here. What do we do? And so different forms. These beings die. They don't take on different forms. They're given a choice, and they'll just run away. So I think for a lot of them, they've been misled as well by different types of knowledge. I'd advise people to keep an open mind and research everything, especially things to do with the occult, the mainstream, the alternative. But the mainstream education's just made to make building blocks of knowledge. You're not supposed to go beyond that, and you'll be misled like all this junk DNA because they don't know what it means, or is it because it doesn't fit their story? It never fit their story, to be honest, because it's just a bunch of half-truths and lies, and they will sell theory as fact. I've mentioned before, some areas of Darwin's okay, but another species, and 3 species, and and anything that's to do with evolution is within this soul body. It's just a slight adaptations to the environment. It's ongoing intelligence within my being, a bit like I'm taller than my parents, but that could be to do with nurture, and maybe that's where I'm coming across the nurture side of it. Resistance to disease and things like that. Small changes, not big changes. So anyway, I've done quite a big talk here. So this is Pixie sign off, and wish you a good day.